Hello, everyone. My name's Duncan Edwards. I'm the CEO of British American Business, and I'm very happy to say that today I have with me Rachel Shatliff, who's the Managing Director and Head of International Subsidiary Banking for HSBC in the UK, and Jaron Campbell, Managing Director and US Head of International Subsidiary Banking for HSBC in the States. We're going to be chatting about the British American Business Transatlantic Growth Campaign, which we've been running for a few years now. And the purpose of this campaign, of course, is to recognize British and American companies of every size that have chosen to expand their business across the Atlantic. And HSBC has chosen to support this campaign. And I wonder if you could just give us some sense as to why HSBC thinks that this is important. Maybe Rachel, we can start with you.
Sure, thanks, Duncan. And I absolutely love getting involved with the transatlantic growth program because, well, for a start, the US relationship for the UK is an absolutely critical one. It's our number one corridor, and we really enjoy seeing the successes and growth of the businesses coming into the UK. It's a very exciting one, and I think this program really brings to life the successes of a whole range of businesses, you know, as you said, all the way through from SME to the global businesses, and across all sectors as well. So we're seeing successes right across. So really enjoy bringing that to life and supporting those businesses.
And Jaron, how important is the US-UK corridor to your customers and to HSBC in the USA?
It is the utmost important for our clients. I mean, I think there's no secret the special relationship between the UK and the US, and clearly we see that internally with our clients as well. I mean, the UK-US corridor is similar to what Rachel said. It's our largest corridor, a lot of synergies, a lot of kind of cultural connections, and we sort of see that in the business space as well. And so across the sectors that are quite prominent in the UK and the US, there's just a real sense of synergies that we tend to help our clients capitalize on both sides of the pond.
I'm curious, maybe Jaron, you could kick us off on this one. I'm curious, how your customers have coped, both US businesses with subsidiaries in the UK and vice versa. How have your customers navigated the last year? And perhaps you can tell us a little bit about what HSBC has been doing to help customers during the last year.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's been a learning experience for a number of companies, including ourselves. And I think no one was prepared to deal with some of the dynamics that the pandemic presented. And I have to say, I mean, there's just been this, we say it all the time, resilience. And I think that's a very important word. I mean, we've seen resilience from our clients, how they have, helped support their employees. We've seen it from our side as well, how we've been able to mobilize our staff to support our employees, but more importantly, how we've come together as a community to help each other. And so, first and foremost, I think what comes to mind is just the reliance and the evolution of technology, how we've been able to really continue to operate, keep the economies going through the use of technology. And I think that's here to stay. So there's certainly a silver lining that comes off the back of what we've seen here. And the other piece around, what HSBC has done, the UK is our largest corridor, as I mentioned before, and several of our clients here in the US have pretty substantial operations, and they employ thousands of people, both US citizens and foreign citizens. And, the governmental schemes that we help participate in, so the Paycheck Protection Program here in the US was widely subscribed to by a number of our UK clients. And I think that really helped bolster the support that we provided to our clients, but I think more importantly, provided a bit more comfort to the companies that they were able to sustain some of the impacts of the pandemic. And so I'm quite proud to see how some clients really have come out the back end of the pandemic, and I think they're really poised for growth and have come back, quite strong.
We've done the same in the UK, sort of supporting two of the government schemes right across the spectrum. The other real silver lining, if you like, or a real strength that's come from it, I think, is that the building of the relationships. So just as we've got to know colleagues really, really well, I think we've got to know our customers on another level. So we've got to know them personally, and we've found ways of supporting them that perhaps we hadn't even sort of anticipated before. And I think that's really stood us and the clients in good stead over the sort of past 12, 15 months. So it's been a really positive experience from that point of view.
Yes, it's amazing, isn't it? In terms of sort of the general sense of account management, these technologies have been incredibly useful because customers are always available to talk to, and it's quick and it's easy, and it's actually very intimate as well on screen.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're able to talk to clients at a subsidiary and global level at the same time, which was very rarely the case before. So it's great.
If this crisis had happened even, say, 10 years ago, the internet infrastructure, the technology would not have enabled us to do what we've all been doing over the last, the capacity to stream even a conversation like the one we're having now.
Yep.
Would not have been available even 10 years ago. It's been absolutely amazing. I think it'd be interesting to get your sense, though. The pandemic certainly hasn't been even for everybody, and I suppose for larger companies who've got established teams on the ground in both markets, business has been able to run pretty much as usual. I mean, we hear that for smaller companies, for SMEs, where owners and senior executives are used to traveling to see their customers and their clients, it hasn't been as easy for them. Is that what you've found amongst your customers? I mean, Rachel, have you been talking to some of your smaller customers about that kind of thing?
Well, I think you're right, and actually anybody in the sort of the travel-related leisure industry, anything consumer-related has been pretty impacted. And if you overlay that on top, the inability to travel to actually go and connect with your businesses, I think that has been a challenge. And without a doubt, we have had to support our SME customers a great deal over the past 12 months. And it will be great to open up. We were talking earlier about the need to open up for air travel. And it's absolutely essential, I think, to get the growth really going across the board for our clients.
Jaron, the US travel market has opened up. I guess, are you back on the road?
We're starting to thaw out slowly but surely, but the domestic market is certainly opening back up. But I would echo what Rachel is saying. I mean, we're so accustomed to, seeing our clients both here in the U.S. and the U.K. And I look forward to the days of kind of getting back on a plane and going cross-border and having some bread pudding and a cucumber sandwich every now and again. But I think it goes beyond that. It's the connections that we've built kind of interpersonally, which both SME and the large corporate space. I mean, that's still consistent. And look, I think technology has been a tremendous enabler throughout this process, but at the end of the day, people still value those relationships and being able to get to know individuals on a more personal level. And so I look forward to, continuous kind of reopening in the US and vice versa in the UK. And I'm quite optimistic that we'll be in a much better place in the short term.
I mean, that's super interesting. And I should also recognize the point that you both made earlier about the incredibly important role that banks played in the early part of the crisis in distributing the government support that was made available. It would have been impossible to do that without the active help and support of banks in both the US and the UK. And I think people acknowledge that. I think people acknowledge both the scale and speed of the government support on both sides of the Atlantic, but then also the role that banks and other financial institutions played in distributing that aid to their customers. But I'm interested in the point you make, Jaron, about optimism. And Yeah, I'd love to know, maybe Rachel, you could kick us off on this. When you're talking to your customers, how optimistic are they as they're beginning to come out of this crisis about both their own domestic business, but also their international ambitions in the USA?
Increasingly so. So I think it's really changed the mood probably over the last 6 months, and certainly the last 3, much more optimistic. So those plans, acquisition plans that were on hold, the investment plans that we're just waiting to see how it all pans out, that's really starting to come to fruition. So there've been some great acquisitions and activity only in the last few weeks, which has been brilliant to see. So for us inbound, seeing Tempur Sealy come into the UK and pick up Dreams, and brilliant to see Wendy's back in the UK after 20 plus years, isn't it? And see them queuing round the block. The people couldn't get in there. So, I think that's just a great feel for how things are going, and hopefully that will feed through right across the board in terms of the size of businesses as well.
And Jaron, how optimistic are you when you're talking to your customers? What's the mood?
The mood music is actually quite favorable. And believe it or not, you've had some sectors really outperform in the pandemic. And that was somewhat of a surprise to us. And some of it is as you would think, so in the tech space, the consumer electronics, we all know around, some of the components that go into electronics, et cetera, home improvement, anything related to a home. It seems as if, those industries have really outperformed. And so, I think even retail, the way that we are sort of experiencing kind of purchasing and buying has really fundamentally changed. And so the optimism is quite high. I believe, once the markets truly do open back up in terms of traveling, et cetera, we'll have other sectors such as leisure, mainly hotels, hospitality, really pick back up in kind. But it is, quite positive to see that. I believe there's this sort of view that we all need to play our part to kind of help businesses kind of get back on their feet. And so it is quite remarkable to see just the ownership that the U.S. population is taking as it relates to kind of stimulating the economy and supporting our businesses, either large businesses or the small businesses that support our communities.
There are sectors that feel like they're on the edge of a real boom. In our transatlantic growth campaign, we've got a couple of companies, for example, from the electric vehicle space, and you just feel that that's going to explode, and the whole ecosystem around that. And a lot of corporates are sitting on a lot of cash, so there's money available internally. And then I'm sure there's a lot of interest rates are relatively low, and there's money available to be lent to corporates as well as they look to realize their ambitions. So just a final word from either of you about your support for the Transatlantic Growth Campaign. Rachel?
Just delighted to be supporting this campaign. It's a fantastic one, really well timed, I think, with the G7 happening right now. It couldn't be more important in terms of the special relationship, and it's a really, really important relationship for us at HSBC to be supporting BAB as well. So thank you.
Thank you. And Jaron?
Yeah, again, quite honored to have the conversation with you, Duncan and Rachel. As I said at the start, the special relationship goes beyond the sort of geopolitical environment. It really is a special relationship between the two corridors, the US and the UK. And I think, as we come out of this pandemic, I think these two nations will really play a meaningful part in the global economy in terms of how it recovers. And we're seeing that already. So again, thanks for having me, Duncan, and delighted to be part of the conversation.
Rachel Shatliff, Jaron Campbell, thank you both very much indeed.